What's good? It's Woog. This is the rematch between Ben Whittaker, 8 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw, and Liam Cameron, 23 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. I think most fight fans are really trying to digest, was this just an odd anomaly that organically ended in an injury, or was this a symptom of something greater? And was this a faked injury to get out of a difficult situation by the young prospect, Ben Whittaker? Now, before this fight, Ben Whittaker had been pretty much going boxing viral by showboating and just looking like he was miles more talented than his much less talented opponents. Again, this is like the first few fights in his career, and he is showboating on Prince Nassim levels, like bordering disrespectful. But this in-ring behavior kind of made Ben Whittaker a must-watch new talent in the game. And it's not like he doesn't have pedigree. We're talking about somebody who was an Olympic silver medalist at light heavyweight just a few years ago. So this fight against Liam Cameron was a modest step up, but you could say that it was a step up. Liam Cameron is a fighter who's got some losses. He's got 6 losses, the most notable of which, and the most recent, was his most recent fight before that Ben Whittaker fight against Lyndon Arthur. And in that fight, Liam Cameron fought Lyndon Arthur very competitively. This ended up being a split decision win for Lyndon Arthur, who also has a win against Anthony Yarde. They're about to run it back, I believe, for the 3rd time. But Lyndon Arthur is a pretty good fighter, and Liam Cameron, again, he loses some fights, but he's never been stopped, and he is a pretty competitive fighter just overall. So this was a step up for Ben Whittaker. And within the first couple 2 to 3 rounds, you could tell Liam Cameron wasn't here to just be another outmatched Ben Whittaker opponent. No, Liam Cameron by like the 2nd and 3rd round was giving as good as he was getting, and Ben Whittaker wasn't showboating so much. In fact, things got pretty damn serious by like the 3rd, 4th round. And I remember watching like a Chael Sonnen video. For you guys who know something about MMA, Chael Sonnen, he was talking about what a fighter's biggest fear is. And he said, it's not getting knocked out, it's not getting badly hurt, it's becoming exhausted, becoming tired. And it should be noted that with Liam Cameron, this guy has run 100+ mile ultra marathons. This is somebody who is not gonna gas. Maybe that's one of the reasons he's never been stopped, is because he's got such a motor. But the point in that Chael Sonnen commentary was him saying that fighters privately fear when they're in a fight just becoming exhausted and becoming exposed in that way. And he also said that the most difficult thing to deal with when you're in the ring, it's not a speed disadvantage, it's not a strength disadvantage. It's when you enter a fight having one idea of how the fight should feel in mind, and then in the ring, or in that case in the cage, you discover, oh boy, tonight's gonna be way more difficult than I thought it was gonna be. Oh God, what do I do? So I believe that that's what Ben Whittaker ran into. He had become accustomed to just outclassing his opponents, beating them all either by stoppage or by unanimous decision. No split decisions, nothing close. So I suspect that when he got in there and he hit Liam Cameron with some nice shots, but it became abundantly clear that Liam Cameron wasn't going anywhere, and that Liam Cameron would pick his spots, throw a pretty hard jab out there, be hitting in the clinch, roughing him up on the inside. I think that Ben Whittaker sensed that the tide was turning, and yes, there were some pretty rugged tactics and there was some wrestling, but what eventually happened is that at the end of the 5th round, Liam Cameron was tangled up with Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker's back was against the ropes, and they both go tumbling over the top rope and out of the ring. Ben Whittaker was on his back. He was grabbing his ankle, leg area, and he just didn't get up. He didn't continue the fight. They ended up stopping it. They ended up going to the scorecards, and this resulted in a draw. Look, I usually try to give fighters the benefit of the doubt, and this was like a high profile undercard. This is one of those Riyadh season cards. I usually try to give fighters the benefit of the doubt. Like, you know, who am I to say that the person wasn't injured? I'm not the one who went tumbling over the top rope. But circumstantially, it just, everybody watching that fight could see that the tide had turned. I mean, it was never clearly in Whittaker's favor to begin with, but Liam Cameron was just coming on, and it started to look like Whittaker was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. Like, what do the British commentators say on some of the broadcasts? He starts losing his shape, where instead of looking solid on your feet, looking well balanced, he started getting hit with looping shots. Again, he started getting hit in the clinch with those shots that are kind of like in the side, you know, near-ish the back of the head. And Whittaker was complaining about those a lot. I wonder if the ref is going to let that slide and let Liam Cameron hit to the side of Whittaker's head in some of those grapples. But you can start seeing Liam Cameron kind of throwing and knocking Whittaker around a bit, where Whittaker starts looking like he's kind of walking off balance and then trying to regather and throw a couple punches. But then when he starts throwing those couple punches, Liam Cameron comes right back with a hard jab that, again, he was landing that jab pretty cleanly, and Whittaker didn't look like he was able to slip many of those. But whenever Whittaker would really start to open up, Liam Cameron would keep his high guard and then would continue to walk him down with the jab and then throwing the power punches behind that, going to Whittaker's body. They were going to each other's body, but it looked like Whittaker was easily the more uncomfortable between the two. And just with my very layperson observation, seeing them tumble over that top rope looked like a very convenient moment for Whittaker to get out of that fight. I just think that this one ended up being way more rugged, way more difficult than he anticipated it being. I think that he thought that he was going to come in there and simply outclass Liam Cameron, and that it was not going to be an ultra difficult night. This was turning into an ultra difficult fight. And I think that that behavior by Whittaker, again, fairly or unfairly, I mean, I would hate to be chastising him if he was genuinely really hurt and injured after tumbling out of the ring. And, you know, they showed replay after replay, and like the commentators are like, I don't see where the injury could have occurred. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. I think that this moment in that first fight is going to haunt Whittaker's reputation for a little while. He might eventually shed it. Like, let's say he goes out there and beats Liam Cameron in the rematch, then starts working up the ranks and starts beating some named fighters, some named light heavyweights that we're familiar with. Say he beats like a Willie Hutchinson or something. Yeah, well, that will kind of restore Ben Whittaker's reputation. But I still think that there will be that idea in people's heads that somewhere in there, you could pull the quit and the fortitude out of Ben Whittaker, and you could make him want no moss if you could really take him and drag him into those deep waters. I think that that will hit his reputation for a while. But right now, we are heading into this rematch between Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron. And, you know, a lot of what Liam Cameron was doing well, I think can still work in this rematch. I just think that you're going to get a way more determined Ben Whittaker. I think that he is preparing for this one like it is his Alamo. He needs to win this fight. I know that he's very early in the career, and I know that fighters recover from losses all the time. But if he loses this after that very questionable exit out of the first fight, which, by the way, it was ruled a draw. A lot of people thought that Liam Cameron should have edged that based on where they were after the 5th round on the scorecards. But I suspect that a part of the calculation was that if this ends up going to the scorecards, I don't think Whittaker liked his chances at winning the majority of those rounds between round 6 and round 10. I don't think that Whittaker was looking forward to the second half of that fight and where that one was headed. But in this rematch, I think we're going to get a much more informed Ben Whittaker. He knows the type of guy that he's up against now. And I think that he's going to fight a fight that is respectful of Cameron's durability. And I think that he's going to just work to outbox the guy. I do think that he's going to try to put a hurt on him in certain moments and put some nice combinations together. But I think that he's going to try to give a little push and pull, back him up a little bit, and then get on the move and work behind the jab and make the slower footed Liam Cameron chase you around. Now, at some point, Whittaker's going to have to stand his ground, and he does have some pop. He's got pretty, it's tough to say because we haven't seen him against elite fighters, but he seems to have pretty good punching power. Does he have enough to deter Liam Cameron's pursuit? We'll see. But I'm just going to kind of err on the side of, I'll say the side of the talent and what the film tells us about the guys. Whittaker is the more talented between the two, and that's probably why he's a minus 275 in this rematch. Even given what we saw in that first fight, he's almost a 3-1 favorite, which is much closer than the odds in their first fight, but he's still nearly a 3-1 favorite. We know that the guy is physically talented. We don't yet know if he's a warrior. The amateur and pro games, you hear this all the time, are very different in terms of what the fighter is required to endure. We don't know yet if Whittaker is a fighter in that sense. I suspect that we're going to learn a lot in this rematch. And please believe Liam Cameron's going to be ready for this one. I mean, he looks at this, he's chomping at the bit. He's saying, I should have had that first one. I was on my way to taking that first one. Let me settle this once and for all in this rematch. I just think that it's a higher likelihood that this was a little bit of a lightning in the bottle scenario where you had Whittaker underestimating Liam Cameron a bit. I don't think that's going to be the case in the rematch. I mean, if it is the case in the rematch, then Ben Whittaker's got to be one of the lowest IQ fighters ever. I don't think that's going to be the case. He's going to come in prepared. He's going to come in very motivated, and he's going to come in expecting that this could potentially be a rough and tumble night, but he's going to be ready for it rather than stepping in with one idea in mind and then discovering that this night is going to be something different. So I'm going to go with the talent in this one. And I'm going to say that Liam Cameron fought the fight that he needed to fight that first time around. Unfortunately, it ended with them tumbling out of the ring. But I think he's going to be dealing with a different Ben Whittaker in this rematch. And I think that Whittaker's going to win it, but I don't think he's going to get the stoppage. If Whittaker gets a stoppage, that will be a pretty significant feather in his cap. He will become the first to stop Liam Cameron, and he will pretty much remove not all of the suspicions of what happened in that first fight. Again, I think that that's going to follow him around for a while, but he's going to end the conversation of who is better between Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron. That much would be true, especially if he stops Liam Cameron. But I think that he's going to box pretty smartly. I don't think he's going to do a ton of showboating, but I think that you're going to see the technical acumen and the savvy, the patience, and the boxing wisdom that we did not see from him in that first fight. Boy, if he starts getting pressured and starts to fall apart again in this rematch, then he might end up being more Tony Yoka. Just we're citing another accomplished Olympian who couldn't really transition effectively into the professional ranks, at least not against the better fighters. But if Whittaker falls apart like he looked like he was falling apart in that first fight, then you've got to have big question marks about where he stands in the professional ranks. But yeah, I think he's going to do enough to win this one via decision. I think it's going to be something like 7-3. This is going to be a 10-rounder. And I think that he'll move on after that and fight the next opponent, which I don't expect will be another step up significantly from Liam Cameron. I think that if he beats Liam Cameron, they're not going to feed him to like a top 10, 15 ranked guy at light heavyweight. I think that they're going to say, whew, okay, we got through that Liam Cameron stuff. Let's work on some stuff against some more lower level opponents, at least for the next few fights, and then start stepping up again. That's what I suspect would happen if Ben Whittaker gets through Liam Cameron in this rematch. But yeah, I'm picking Ben Whittaker to win via decision here. Although I am curious to see how he responds and if he can respond better to pressure and to Ish hitting the fan than he did in that first fight. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts on this rematch between Whittaker and Cameron in the comments, and let me know what you thought of that first fight. Do you think that Whittaker was taking the easy, convenient, some would argue smart way out by essentially faking the injury to get out of that first fight against Cameron? Or do you think that he might have really hurt himself tumbling over that top rope? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.